Victor Key, David Furman, lots of others. Below that we have props from the Flying Karamazov brothers. And under that we've got Alan Salk, Michael Davis, Jimmy Shrinka, Jeff Tavagia, so assortment of folks there. Under that is props from Niels Dunker and Doug Sayers. And under that is some props from David Cousin, including some very rare Dubé cork numbers clubs. And then up above all that is a huge array of clubs that you'll probably just want to pan across. Lots of famous and some not so famous, but lots of famous jugglers will be represented here. And the further right you get, the more modern they will be. A lot of the clubs that you'll see here towards the end of this row were used for various world records, like the first 9-club flash and the current 8-club world record, and lots of other things of that sort. It's kind of a who's who of juggling. West Peden there on the end. And then in the corner here, you've got net from Tony Pezzo for his famous net and balls act. You've got a hula hoop from Fer Simano. Some rings from some famous folks, Willie Colombiani and Catherine Wagner and Nicholas Soren. You've got some foot juggling props from Regina Barrington there. And then you've got Gildova's famous horse. And if you want to see what that does, you can look it up online. And then we've got a Cara box from the Raspini brothers. And Cain, an umbrella. Cain from Drew Brown, the umbrella from Kyle Driggs. We've got lots of famous Diablos up here, different Diablo artists. It appears I've lost a name tag somewhere. Find that. But lots of various things here. We have the 12 beanbags that Bruce Serafine used for the first 12-ball flash. They are leaking so badly, I keep them in there. Otherwise, the insides are more or less like sand now. So, I have a flower pot from Clockwork. I've got some props from Tui Wilson and Dan Holtzman here on the bottom. Angel Agia up top, and Felix Feldman. On the top, we have lots of different props from different people. Aaron Bonk, Mark Hayward, Reg Bacon, John Udrich, Steve Rawlings, Mary Spar, Bill Fry, lots of different people. Larry V. It's not just all balls, rings, and clubs. It's a prop from Greg Kennedy. Peter Irish, Peter Bone, Tom Whitfield, Frank Olivier, lots of folks. Liam Holstead, Jeff Marsh. Down bottom we have some props from Penn Jillette, Mark Fay, Bruce Tiemann, Scott Sorensen, Jason Garfield, and even myself. Now I've got my little David Cain corner over here. And I've got some of my Guinness World Records and my gold medals and my bobblehead. And the books, the juggling history books I've written. And some of my IJA awards and such. So that's my little David Cain corner. I own the museum. I guess I can do anything I want. So that's the upstairs. And now we're going to go downstairs. That's a monstrous hall there. Turn off some lights here. So we've got another Cara box there. I own probably about 300 posters. So I just have a few little things here. This and this kind of show how Harry Lind made his wooden juggling clubs. I've got some more Bobby May stuff here. This belonged to Gil Dova. It was a little kind of Bobby May shrine he had in his home. So, let's start over here. These are props from the earliest prop makers. So you've got Otto Maurer, these two shelves. This is the earliest prop maker we are aware of, from the maybe around 1890. We had the oldest juggling rings in the world. So before around 1930 or late 20s, this is what juggling rings look like. And I've got 3 of them, and there's only one other known set of the pre-flat juggling rings that we still know, but this is the oldest of those. So we've got a juggling pipe where you would use kind of like a mouse stick. You bite into this part and you spin stuff up here or balance things on there. Spinning bowls, juggling plates, juggling knives down there, and brass juggling balls and aluminum juggling balls. And so those are all Albemarle props. And then we have Ella Stanion was a prop maker out of New York City, and this is a knife from Ella Stanion. But that axe and those props down there, and so, not the club, but most of these mouse sticks were all made by Edward Van Wyck, who was based in Cincinnati, which is where I'm close to. And he was the first person to make clubs for sale. And so all of these here are Van Wyck clubs. So starting in 1895, he started making them. They're hollow wooden clubs. So he would lathe out this and then cut it in half and hollow out the middles. And then he'd have a hole in this end, and this handle would already be lathed out, and they'd put it in there with a wooden nut, and then they'd glue the pieces back together, and they'd cover it. He'd cover it with this glued linen, and they would cover it with this foil mylar type of thing. So he made clubs from 1895 to 1919. And then in 1919, he sold his club making business to Harry Lind. Harry Lind was, from 1920 to 1960, he was the club maker in the United States. If you were a professional juggler or a good amateur, you wanted Harry Lind clubs. But not everybody could get his clubs, because you had to, the only way you could become a customer of his was to be recommended by someone that was already a customer of his. And so if you couldn't get his clubs, these folks were people who tried to copy or compete against Harry Lind. And none of them were very successful. They made inferior clubs. So Harry Lind made clubs from until 1960. So in the 1960s, there was this void. So people tried making these plastic toy bowling pin clubs, like this and this. And then one of the people that was using this was Jay Green, who I talked about upstairs, who decided he could make something better than this. And so he came up with this, which was the first modern juggling club. Meanwhile, in the 60s, people started experimenting with fiberglass clubs. So down here, we have fiberglass clubs. We have Stu Reynolds, who made by far the best fiberglass clubs. But even before Stu was Claude Crumley and Ken Bench. Ken Bench was actually the first maker of fiberglass clubs. And then in Europe, people weren't using hollow wooden clubs like in the United States. They were using one of three things: either skeleton clubs that had this type of design, and sometimes they'd be covered, sometimes they weren't. These are skeleton clubs that are covered, but as you can see, some they didn't cover. So either skeleton clubs or wicker or rattan clubs like these, or cork clubs like this one here